Hello. I'm going to start practicing for my YouTube channel on Jungian psychology and intuitive empathic phenomenon and phenomenology of what you might regard as the divine. I'm going to use the C.S. Joseph type grid system and appropriately credit it and expand upon those ideas and further out the expansion of the system thereof. Mostly, we look at all these systems online, and most of them are ran by NFs, and there's a reason for that. Jungian psychology appeals directly to NFs. That's why so many people type as INFJs and they're not, INFPs and they're not. And the ones that are, they don't know it. And, I've fallen into that camp before. It's not a fun place to be. It might be akin to a borderline personality thing I have going on. That very well may be. However, there's something really important about it. There's something really important about NFs we're overlooking because I do believe they are at the top of the idealist hierarchy for good reason. They are something like arbiters of language, both of corruption and integrity. I am very much interested in the retention of the purity and integrity of language to restore the ecology of information and perhaps catalyze some sort of economical interest around such ideas thereof. Now, I am what you would read. So I'm a tricky case because I've studied this stuff my whole life, among other things, around perception, which is a feminine domain and discipline. Anything intuition, anything disc oriented, all these things, perception, because women are superior in perception just as men are superior in judgment. Now, an INFP, FI hero, introverted feeling. What is it? FI, that is your more sense of morality. It's where your values live. It's actually where your spirit lives. We have this issue in culture where we've kind of taken what used to be virtue and traded it out for value. It's a sleight of hand maneuver for corruption, essentially, of the soul, because your type of the typology is an expression of the nature of your soul, not necessarily the nurture, the nature. We can identify nurture more in big five concepts, and I will be getting into that because it's directly relevant and not well articulated in the mainstream. FI represents more of who you are probably than any other function because it's where the heart is. And you don't really know it, but you live more in your heart than you do your thoughts. Even the T-driven types, they just don't well, it's sort of an encircling. T chases F just as F chases T. Thoughts influence feelings, feelings influence thoughts, so on and so forth, forever. But it is very important to notice that all of these things have origins, cognitive origins. Most of all, the origin of your soul, what you value. We need to understand that you can't really have a virtuous FI without deciding to struggle and grapple with it, so to speak, because we notice, we look at culture, it isn't virtue driven. The mature masculine is almost non-existent. There are spheres. They are sort of being consumed by red pill philosophy and, what would you say, darker projects going on in the background, which I can testify to some degree. I'd prefer not to at this time because I don't really know what to make of it. Sometimes morality is very gray, meaning good runs into evil just as evil runs into good, and it's not self-evident how to point that out. It isn't. But we can work on that. Most importantly, I think it's important to notice that FI, introverted feeling, it's the most internally focused function. The INFP is the most internally focused type. And technically, they control the narrative of culture, whether we want to admit that or not. It's actually true. and they kind of, they're seers. Some of them are more than others. Most of them are really kind of in a state of decay and integration, which I've experienced myself. It's the will to embrace with ethics, which is the nemesis of the INFP. FE, ethics, which represents your sense of empathy, your sense of ethics, your sense of love, your sense of hate, all of these things. And we don't really know how to sort that out as a group, and that's something we're working on. And I'm hoping that I can kind of shepherd some of these Jungian ideas, which they're essentially being transformed into adversarial witchcraft, which I am doing my best to contend with and fight against and sort of put an end to it, because witchcraft really doesn't have any power for somebody who has the heart to see it. And that's really important information, because there's a lot of people that suffer from the binding of negativity to the omens of the symbolic world. We can get more into telepathic concepts and intuitive phenomena as I go on, because it's actually my primary aim. And I just need it. I need myself to understand that needs to be led by the religious truths of the archetypal world, which I find most relevant in classic religion and the Judeo-Christian Bible. I'm not really interested in any scientific viewpoints or amoral atheist wills that have no utility to me. I would rather subjugate them to higher order, that they may perhaps learn something from the terrible hubris and folly of science. And there's more going on to that too at the fringe, which I'm not going to touch on right now. I am merely experimenting and trying to find my words on the camera to see where this whole thing will go. And what better place to start with than my own hero function, introverted feeling. I really like introverted feeling. So introverted feeling, it's a really good function to have, but it's not so fun for other people to be around, because it acts like a mirror. It's like a burning mirror. Depending how integrated you are, it can be the most dangerous thing. And it is, and it's kind of why I recede into reclusive tendencies that I'm doing my best to integrate my way out of, and I will succeed there because I see it happening every day. What I would like to do is launch a channel in the service of sort of rallying and wrangling the intuitive minds of these paranormal domains, because they are. We are unconsciously creating a hive mind, so to speak, with the capacity for a telepathic interface, that there are shadowy aspects sort of hoping for the malevolent outcome, which will be realized for those who are not strong enough to cast it from themselves so much. It isn't to cast it from yourself. It's really to integrate it and put it in the service of something higher, so that it may be good instead of just bad. It's the difference between hell and a tragedy. Always pick the tragedy and let the denizens of hell have their hell, because that's just how the world works. The INFP technically is the type set up with a moral disposition to make decisions. It's what we do best. We don't really occupy the material world as much as all the other types, even though we're here, obviously. Knock, knock. That's because we're the most metaphysical type. We are the dreamers. We live in the ideal dream world of mankind. Now, that is a tricky subject because it's very fragmented. It's divided, and it is all the same thing, and it does all sort of move to the same place. However, I like to teach morality kind of like music. You know, there's 7 spirits of God, there's 7 notes of music. And good and evil, sort of at the highest levels, isn't really like that. It's more gray, and it's more like a song that plays notes here or there. if you ever listen to a sad piece of music, it's got every emotion in there. It isn't just happy. It isn't just sad. It's everything. And that's really what the moral gray is like. And it's not well understood. It does sort of happen at the fringe, and it makes the phenomenon of the cherubim almost realistic. It really does. Because what is a cherub? A cherub is somebody or something with an entity difficult to fit into conceptual structures that sort of embodies many aspects of many ideas in one place at one time in one word. And we'll also get more into that. I have so much I would like to cover. It's just a matter of picking a place to begin. And I would like to assert a King James version of the Bible spiritually over the entire project, because ultimately I got two projects I want to make. I want one way to go towards the Jungian psychology and the illumination thereof, so that people may begin to either enlighten themselves or destroy themselves. I really don't care. We just need to understand how it works. It isn't that I don't care. I just know how things play out. This world is everything in one. That's what the universe is. It's everythingness. There's kind of a difference between God and source. Source is the feminine source of creativity, the darkness. It's everythingness. God is the source of light. It's oneness with everythingness in some sort of ordered, principled, virtuous perception. And it's really the thing that guides the absolute chaos of the true darkness of the feminine. She needs that rock to have and stand on, whether she knows it or not. It's the thing she's always looking for, just as vice versa, which we will get more into. Thank you.